The conflict over the Marines' role came to a head in mid-April 2605 when reports out of Oberon described an attack on Uriel that wasn't a typical hit-and-run operation. A Tevarin force had captured a sizable landing zone and the accompanying warrens near a quantum fuel refinery. Until then, the Tevarin had forgone establishing ground bases in favour of keeping their forces mobile. Military officials feared this meant that the Tevarin had entered the next phase in their war strategy, one that could see them taking land away from humanity and using the existing infrastructure to establish resupply points. Such a spot on Oberon could be used to aid attacks on Vega and the UEE's primary food producers in Bremen. Worse still would be if the Tevarin slipped through Bremen and entered the Peri Line. Military strategists deemed a Tevarin and Xi'an alliance a human doomsday scenario that must be avoided at all costs. Yet when Marine General Russ Adachi presented to the Joint Fleet Command a plan to attack the Tevarin base on Uriel, Army and Navy leadership balked at the operation. Oberon was unclaimed and Army and Navy officials believed that the war's limited resources should only be deployed to defend UEE systems. Furthermore, they felt that the occupation was an obvious feint, designed to attract UEE forces. Raising the proposal to High Command, General Adachi underlined the strategic importance of denying the Tevarin a safe haven near UEE space and protecting humanity from Tevarin aggression on every front. He feared that ignoring Oberon would only encourage the Tevarin to take more systems. When High Command prioritised eliminating the Tevarin base, the Army and Navy argued that their combined force would be more effective than the Marines alone. Projection models of the proposed attack showed that a large-scale engagement by Army and Navy forces would lead to considerable casualties and the destruction of a significant number of ships. Making matters worse, mobilising forces for the assault would leave other areas of the Empire vulnerable to counterattack. High Command carefully analysed the collected data and decided on a surgical strike, clearing the way for the Marines to show the Tevarin what they were about. The Marines were ready for the challenge. Special forces from the 1st Marine Combat Battalion had been training for weeks when word came down that High Command had authorised Operation Oberon. In preparation, they trained in an advanced combat style that could neutralise the infamous hand-to-hand expertise of the Tevarin's elite soldiers, and used schematics and scans to build a replica of the landing zone's warrens on Corin. Now an official go, they tirelessly drilled the assault before boarding a secretive Navy transport to Oberon. The Marines knew they would be outnumbered and outgunned, so they needed to get to the planet without alerting the Tevarin. This involved waiting days until weather conditions provided enough cover for the deployment of nails to quickly and covertly deliver the troops planetside. The Marines spent several anxious days waiting aboard a ship in Vega until getting word in the middle of the night that conditions were right. Their transport set out for Oberon, cautiously evading Tevarin patrols buzzing around the planet. In the early hours of June 24, 2605, Marine commandos touched down on Uriel near a decommissioned maintenance enclosure that provided access to the subterranean tunnels connected to the quantum fuel refinery. The Marines believed that eliminating the facility's strategic importance would drive the Tevarin to abandon the landing zone, so they advanced towards the refinery's control room intent on destroying it. The first stage of the mission went as planned. The Marines carefully avoided engagement until they entered the control room and killed all the Tevarin inside. While setting explosives, a contingent of Tevarin soldiers approached and engaged the Marines. The ensuing firefight and ever-growing number of Tevarin troops prevented the Marines from planting the final charges. Seeing no alternative, they resorted to an improvised demolition strategy as they fled. The Marines raced through the tunnels to their secondary exfiltration point, assuming that their original entry point had been compromised. They successfully reached the planetside, only to receive word that Tevarin ships had engaged and chased away their approaching rescue ship. They were now stranded. Filled with uncertainty regarding the success of their mission and unsure if they would ever leave Uriel, the Marines fled through the snow-covered mountains surrounding the landing zone, thus beginning an epic and often unbelievable journey across harsh terrain with better supplied Tevarin forces nipping at their heels. When military analysts received word of the situation, they put their chances of survival at 3.8%. As General Adachi famously said, "They've obviously never met my Marines." He was right. Despite the drastic odds, this incredible journey through Uriel's mountains would become legendary and inspire generations of young soldiers to sign up. During the battle for Centauri, Squadron 42 was under the command of Captain Alexandra Dunleavy. Captain Dunleavy noted in early reports that these Keel Squad pilots were some of the best she had ever seen. She concluded the snap decision-making and self-confidence that made them great pilots often resulted in a resistance towards the Navy's traditional command structure. Determined to turn her squad around, Dunleavy tried an experiment where, rather than outlining a specific flight path and mission plan for her pilots, she simply told them the pickup point. The experiment proved to be a success. During the battle, the Tevarin used planetary attacks as a diversion, forcing the Navy to focus on defending the populace rather than the route to Elysium. Captain Dunleavy recognised the strategy, knowing that while it would possibly hold the Tevarin back long enough for reinforcements to return, naval casualties would be high and minimal damage would be done to the Tevarin fleet. The result would be another stalemate, prolonging the war. Dunleavy convinced Admiral Fraser of the value of her squad, as well as a strategy to give up the jump point to Elysium. As the Tevarin fleet approached the jump, UEE carriers slowly retreated beneath the enemy barrage. With the long-sought goal finally in sight, Tevarin warlord Korathal ordered the fleet through to Elysium. However, the jump point was unable to accommodate the full Tevarin flotilla, forcing the normal defensive formation to be stretched out near the opening, exposing the more vulnerable targets. Captain Dunleavy and her pilots had been floating dead in their retaliators, hiding among debris waiting for the Tevarin ships to surround them. Just as the first Tevarin ship was about to travel through the jump point, the 42nd seized the moment, powered up their spacecraft and began their attack. Dunleavy issued a simple order: take out the shields. The Tevarin quickly dispatched fighters, but the damage was already done. The 42nd had managed to do what no one else in 7 years of war had accomplished. With a significant portion of the Tevarin's defensive capabilities disabled, the UEE carriers renewed their attack, raining destruction upon the enemy that had plagued them for so long. With his fleet rapidly falling to either destruction or surrender, Korathal mustered his remaining loyal pilots to make a desperate charge for Elysium 4. Though they suffered an additional 70% casualty, his fleet finally reached the atmosphere of their old home world. Korathal and his pilots lowered their thermal shields and dove for the planet. With this second defeat, the spirit of the Tevarin race was irrevocably broken. Imperator Mesa II used the victory to cement his place as ruler of the newly christened United Empire of Earth. Aaron Fring, a field medic on Elysium 4 at the time, painted this dramatic event in his famous piece, Tears of Fire, which stands as one of the most enduring images from the Second Tevarin War.
NordCon 2952, the road to Nord 4.0. What do you want out of nordvpn.com/BoredGamer? Nord base building? Nord hunting 2.0? A dynamic Nordonomy? I'm personally looking forward to the latest Nord cruiser. In the meantime, I'm going to make do with NordVPN protecting my data from insidious space pirates and giving me unrivaled access to all the content that the internet has to offer. Use the links below. Note, NordCon 2952 does not actually exist. Also adding to my shill pile, Tobii Eye Tracker 5 gives you precise head tracking and control with your eyes. That's the sound of my eyes controlling the lasers, giving you unprecedented immersion in Star Citizen. You can basically aim lasers with your eyes. Pew pew! Use the links below and code BoredGamer for discount. Every month we have a ship giveaway for Star Citizen. For October, we're giving away a Cutlass Black with pirate skin, lifetime insurance, and Star Citizen game package. All you need to jump into the game. Just comment on any of my videos made during October to be in for a chance of winning that. If you would like to further support the channel, please consider becoming a channel member with the join button below my videos, or potentially becoming a Patreon. You'll get access to some exclusive content, and it really helps the channel out. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and have a great October.